everyone! Welcome to StormCrows TV, the channel where two lit chicks talk about all things reading and writing. I'm Emily.
And I'm Allegra.
Today we are continuing our read-along series of George R. R. Martin's A Game of Thrones, which is the first book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series.
And if you're just joining us and want to start from the very first chapter or check out our previous chapters, links are posted down below somewhere. And be sure to check out our playlists.
You may also notice a new feature this week, our faces.
Yay!
So I can only apologize, but you'll survive. You're pretty. You'll be all right.
Oh, you're the pretty one. You don't even do makeup for the matter.
Dude, I struggled with this because I could not find my brush to do the foundation. So
yeah, my brushes are apparently all at my mom's, so this was like finger painting.
Sometimes,
that's what happened.
And I say this as an artist, sometimes fingers are the best tools you can use. Seriously, yeah, perfect blending tool. God, that sounds gross.
We're going to cut all of this out, or maybe just leave it in, because guys, guess what? You wanted to see our faces, and now you get to hear the bickering. It's fine.
Oh no, I'm going to do as little editing as possible, because the last video, which should be uploaded now, that was hell in a handbasket. I'm not doing that again.
No one wants you to do that again. That was no. I don't want to have the emergency crying phone calls. No, let's just not do it.
I wasn't crying. I was cursing. Very different things.
But that's your version of crying.
That is true.
That's why we're friends.
Yeah. Spoilers and just profanity warning. This is not a kid's show.
Since this is not a kid's show, why don't you jump ahead and tell us about our reading?
Okay, so I'm going to be recapping Eddard 5, and as many of you who have been following already know, Eddard is my total favorite character. So eager Eddard has opted for the in-your-face approach to investigating Jon's murder. By that I mean he just straight up asks the maester if somebody killed Jon Arryn, because, you know, as you do. Of course, the dude's like, no, people die, dude. And he was kind of old, you know. It's natural. But we do at least hear that Lysa is probably not 100% there. And after meeting her sister, maybe should have already expected that. Anyway, so it's hella hot outside, which does not at all symbolize the tension in the south, exemplified when Littlefinger Baelish shows up and literally points out all the spies that can see into Ned's room. Like, there's one, and there's one, and it's actually really plot convenient. Honestly, bro, how did you miss that? Anyway, he's come up with a few people to question and gives his own rendition of selling an oceanside property in Nebraska in regards to Eddard being overly trusting. But hey, maybe at some point the Warden of the North will listen to someone. Anyone. Yeah, he won't. It's not gonna happen. So how'd I do? Because this was really, this reading was hard to get through. There was just so many fucking Starks.
I forgot about this chunk of the book, I think, and because my roommates and I would reread this and like read it to each other and stuff for dramatic readings because we were those nerds. We would usually skip Ned. My one roommate hated Katalin. So it's sort of like we'd skip half of Ned and half of Katalin and then be like, oh, yeah, move on to the next book. Because all of us really liked the later books more anyway, so.
Did you notice that the first book always went by really quickly when you did that? Like,
yeah,
that's a big chunk.
Compared to that. Ned is talking with Littlefinger here, and you can always, like, you want to flip a coin because is he trying to make Ned paranoid, and how much of it's actually true? But at the same time, he probably should be that paranoid anyway.
I mean, the way I imagine it is Baelish basically went, I'm gonna make him paranoid, but again, it's like you spit into a bucket, you hit a spy in there. So, I mean, he probably was right accidentally.
I think at least 50% were spies.
I mean, I would just assume everyone is, like you said. Trust no one. live longer.
They always go off about how the Red Keep is, hollow walls and made of spies and spiders and evil. Yeah, just be that paranoid once you walk in. Just accept that everyone's a spy and everyone is out to get you. I didn't really have a lot to add about that chapter. Like, it's just Littlefinger's kind of, I think, Martin's voice giving you the intro to think about the servants as spies, because up until this point, you haven't really thought about the servants because you've been in noble heads. And aside from maybe Arya.
My contribution to this chapter is Ned's still really fucking dumb. Like, the problem I've had, and I've said this before, is pretending Lysa for a second isn't as crazy as the Maester said. She went through all these pains of hiding this letter, of making sure it was in code so not even the Starks Maester could figure it out. And now every Stark is going, so you know what we got? We got this letter that said the Lannisters are traitors, but we're not going to tell anyone except for everyone. And who do you think the Maester there is loyal to? He's not loyal to you. He's loyal to Robert.
Good question.
So I know, like, for me, if someone were to come up to me and say, hey, I want to question Allegra about something, the very first person I would go to right after is you and say, hey, guess what? This guy was questioning me about you. Because that's just how that works. I'm more loyal to you than some random guy who just comes in and goes, hey, let me ask some questions.
I just thought of that too, the fact that Lysa could have been deliberately hiding that even from the Maester. Cat just blurted it out to the Maester.
To everyone. They've been blurting it to Littlefinger, to Robb, to Theon Greyjoy. They haven't been very secretive at all. And I don't know, I'm not saying Ned needs to be Sherlock Holmes, but I am saying maybe shut your mouth a little bit better. And okay, you have people you trust, maybe only tell them.
He's not Sherlock Holmes by a long stretch. He's doing a decent-ish detective job, but he doesn't know what a detective is or how to do it, so...
He's doing more than I would have, because, I mean, I'm not Ned Stark, so someone would have sent me a letter saying, someone killed Jon Arryn, and I would have been, oh, well, shit happens.
Maybe he was his foster dad.
No, I get that, but again, it's not like you have the benefit of security cameras or, like, DNA testing.
Oh, good. Do you want the fun thing? My phone just says it's at 15%, so find out if we get through this or not.
All right, so we are now limited to 2 minutes per chapter. I'm going to go ahead and jump into Jon Snow. So Jon is basically the high school varsity quarterback. Everyone likes him except the PE teacher, and that's why they all decide to not straight up destroy the new kid who, in his own words, is a freaking coward. Poor Samwell. An heir who couldn't err. So he took the blacks so Daddy Dearest wouldn't kill him for being a disappointment, but he's so not cut out for this shit. For one, he's fat. For another, like I said, a coward. But that's okay because the quarterback decides to protect him, gets most of the classmates to swear to it, and when somebody decides not to go along with it, they haze the crap out of him until he agrees. Also, Benjen's probably still dead.
Like, I love that the more he meets other kids, the more he realizes, like, how fluffy his parents were. Like, the story Samuel tells about his dad versus Jon's dad. Like, guess what? Your parents are the nicest parents in Westeros, and they were still terrible, so...
Yeah.
Congratulations, everyone needs therapy.
I guess for me, it's like, I like the tropes in this chapter. It's such a fanfic of modern day era sort of displaced into this warden camp. Because it's like, you've got the quarterback trope, you've got the class clown, you've got the nerd, you've got the bully, you've got the teacher who doesn't like your shit. It's like Harry Potter, but like Westeros.
Harry Potter Westeros. Instead of moving staircases, it's an ice wall, and Hogwarts really is trying to kill you.
Yeah, and instead of having ghosts, it's the other ones and forest children. I still like Jon. Not really a Stark, so it doesn't count. I can still say I hate all the Starks. So, yeah. Jon, I think, is probably the most decent character so far. Like, decent not in terms of how well written he is, because they're all pretty well written, but decent in terms of morality. He is the most good-hearted so far of the mains. He's just kind of running the show now. Everyone likes Jon.
The kid's got leadership ability. I think that's what that was like trying to show, is that he has learned at least how to build loyalty from Ned.
Yeah, love me or I beat the crap out of you. I still appreciate that he's sticking up for Samwell.
No, actually, I think that was a good save the cat moment. Technically, Jon saved the cat twice now that I think about it. He saved Ghost, literal puppy cat thing, and then
Puppy cat
thing with Samuel.
So, I mean, we get it, Martin. He's a good guy. I'm supposed to be rooting for him or something. I don't know. Probably not going to. You know me. I always root for the bad guy. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know. He's too good. Don't worry, he'll darken up eventually. Like,
okay.
I'm still really mad that the show, like, completely just screwed up all of Sean. Like, when Jon starts going darker, he makes some hell of choices, and they just sort of pushed all of that off.
We'll do it like an anime, so the darker he gets, the bigger his fur gets, you know?
Yes. Like, everyone's furs just kept growing, and their characterization just kept shrinking.
Aside from the save the cat, there wasn't really much there either, except for that Ben-Jen comment at the end, but I'm convinced since Bran, the dude's not dead. So, moving on to Eddard again. Eddard is in a council meeting, and those are always fun. For me, not so much for him. They talk a lot about Stannis. I mean, so much Stannis. We still haven't met him, but his name's thrown around like, I don't know, 60,000 times. So he's probably important, and maybe he killed Jon Arryn. I mean, he doesn't like whores, so something has to be wrong with him, right? Anyway, Ned decides to go ahead and do hand business, giving the city guard more guards to guard with because they're short-staffed, and that's not good if you're a guard. And then he follows up on a tip, visits a blacksmith, and discovers that Robert has a bastard son who is an apprentice. I mean, I'm not sure why anyone's surprised. But Ned takes an interest because it seems Jon Arryn was willing to die for the kid, so that's cool.
Nobody is shocked by that at all. No one.
You mean Robert likes to fuck? No way.
Robert's been sowing his seed across the entirety of Seven Kingdoms. Well, 6, because they don't let him in Dorne after all. I actually really like the council scenes, and I love that they're setting up stuff like is gonna pay off later. Especially Stannis is the most one that gets beaten over your head.
I really want to meet Stannis. He sounds like an A+ kind of dude.
I really do like Stannis, and I can't wait for you to meet him because I think you will really like him because he's kind of a jerk.
I love kind of jerks. As characters, I still feel, and I don't know that I can say this enough, that Ned's an idiot.
I meing, giving the City Watch some of his men, thus depleting his own resources in a city where he knows people are hostile, that's smart. Going through and not making friends with any of the counselors, like kind of being a dick to all of your coworkers, like just not a good idea. I know you're used to being Lord of the North, but it's like he didn't transfer because you know he has to have decent relations with a bunch of his subjects in the North, but he didn't transfer that concept south at all. Like, just, nah, it's fine. I'm just going to walk in, be a dick, and insult people, and be holier than thou, and this is totally not going to bite me.
In the North, he was very much you have to show the men that you care, they have to see a face so they know who they're fighting and dying for, but he doesn't have that rapport in the South, and he went in going, like, I don't want this job anyway, I resent having this job, but it's almost like he forgot every lesson on how to be a leader, or how to even just serve with other people.
I hadn't noticed that so much until this time, and for whatever reason, it really struck out whenever we went from Jon to Ned, that Jon and Rob are both talking all these, like, lessons that their dad taught them, and Dad is using precisely 0. So let's go ahead and jump into your next favorite character, Katalin.
All right, this is not in the script, but I have to say it. Fuck Katalin.
Now tell everyone why.
She's still an idiot. Seriously, after showing all of her cards regarding the assassin and the plot to kill Jon Arryn, she just sits out in the open in an inn with the man she calls Daddy, and that's not supposed to be weird, and drops all sort of hints about her ties to the Tullys. I'm honestly shocked that nobody noticed her before Tyrion even showed up. But in that moment, we instantly see where Robb got his gift for greeting people when, after her identity was revealed, she affirms the loyalty of all the inn's patrons, saying, hey, you remember that one time my dad did this for you and you and you and you? And then she goes, so this is the guy who tried to kill my 8-year-old. And they all jumped on him and whatnot. It's like, well played, Cat. God, I hate you. I hate you so much.
She thinks she's being really clever. And
I think that's the most annoying part of it. Like, she thinks she's outplayed Tyrion Lannister. And it's like, do you know where you are? You're not in the north.
I guess you can kind of make the argument for once he's unmasked her, she's got to do something. But her choice of the something is really where I'm like, I know you acted impulsively, but Ned gave you a specific set of instructions that you should actually want to fulfill, not out of wifely duty, but because like you need to keep your 4-year-old and your 13-year-old in the north safe. Let's kidnap a Lannister. This is gonna end well for everyone. No mistakes were made here today.
It's not like there's a Lannister queen or anything.
It's fine.
Like again, they don't like Tyrion. Like Cersei hates Tyrion. And his dad hates Tyrion, but Jaime doesn't. The point, though, is he still is a Lannister.
Ned didn't tell her, or didn't know yet, about how in debt the crown was and how bankrupt everything is, but I do know that they definitely hammered it back in the previous chapter where he's talking to the small council. Like, Aerys Targaryen left a huge surplus, a massively overflowing treasury. Robert has somehow evaporated all of that money and is like ungodly amounts of money in debt to both the Lannisters and the Iron Bank Bravos. So, good job. Kidnapping and pissing off the family that the crown owes money to. What are you gonna do?
And also, Tyrion's not necessarily hated by many other people. Yeah, he's resented by his father and sister, but I get the sense that he makes friends wherever he goes.
And a lot of people do just want to keep on his good side, because technically, if Jaime doesn't leave the Kingsguard, Tyrion's most likely to inherit Casterly Rock and all that money.
Also, I mean, okay, let's just let go of the fact that maybe he doesn't have powerful friends. He has one powerful friend who's got a nickname, Kingslayer. You don't get that nickname from being a little pussycat.
Good, yeah, it's gonna be fine. No mistakes were made here, Katalin. It's totally cool. Everything is gonna go well.
I just feel like everything she does is a mistake. Everything. I don't want to feel that way because I want to prove someone wrong. I want to have a good week where I say, no, Catelyn was fine. I have no problem with Catelyn. I can't do it yet.
There is a tinfoil theory that explains away Catelyn being so wrong all the time, in that she's being influenced to be wrong by powers beyond. Because she does deal a lot in dreams and feelings and portents. Maybe she's just being intentionally guided in the wrong direction. It would help explain why she does make horrendously ridiculous choices and then does not seem that dumb later on. But maybe it's just a learning curve where she starts out real dumb and learns later because she's never done anything. This girl literally is, I think they're 30-ish at the start of this, and she's lived under daddy's roof at River Run, and then had a baby, and then went north and had more babies, and been Lady of the North, but didn't really do anything. So she's never power brokered before.
I just feel like if she'd married Brandon, none of this would have happened.
Oh, for real, no. If she'd married Brandon Stark, we'd be in a whole different book series.
So this goes back to what I said many, many episodes ago. Everything is Ned Stark's fault.
Okay.
And speaking of that, let's go ahead and go to Sansa, who's probably still pissed at him. So, jousts. People knocking people with sticks from horses, death and mayhem. It's my kind of chapter. We learn immediately who the best jousters are. So that's the Hound, that's the Mountain, they're related. That's Loras Tyrell, the Flowers dude, and Jaime Lannister. You haven't heard about him before, he's probably not important. Anyway, Sansa giggles a hell of a lot when Loras gives her a red rose. But who can blame her? Because apparently he's really, really ridiculously good looking. The jousts look like they'll be going into a second day, and that night at the feast, Sansa and Joffrey begin making conversation for the first time since that, Butcher Boy incident and him dying and stuff. Not that he mattered. It was all about Lady. She was the real tragedy. Anyway, but she doesn't blame him. They get along great, to her surprise, up until King Robert makes a scene, insisting he'll fight the melee and pushing Jaime down because he's a mighty king. So enemies beware. Joffrey offers an escort for Sansa to return to her chambers, but shocks her when he sends the Hound. He taunts her until he finally tells her how he burned his face. Long story short, the Hound's brother is a dick. And if she tells anyone that he's a dick, he'll kill her.
I love this chapter so much. Oh my god.
I'm just gonna get this out of the way because it's the least important part of the chapter. But I was so pissed off when he pushed Jaime. And there was a part of me that went, you're gonna pay for that. I know you will. So I'm not gonna get that mad. But anyway, so let's move on to the meat and potatoes. I just needed that gone.
You see Gregor write down Sir Hugh of the Vale, Jon Arryn's squire, the boy who Ned really wanted to talk to. I love the fact that there's a plot point in way later books that actually also comes from that moment. So good job, Martin. And I like the use here of I think Neil Gaiman calls it man in a hat, and using the heraldry as the hat. And also Sansa, when she describes things, she goes so much into detail about what people are wearing that it literally becomes men and ladies in hats. And you can tell who's who by her obsession with their heraldry. It even comes on later in the books that you can go back and tell someone was somewhere because of Sansa's description of them, even if she didn't know their name. People really hate that Sansa pays so much attention to fashion, but honestly, it comes in really handy. So when you're in a court setting, you need to pay attention to what people are wearing. It can tell you a lot. But
and again, a lot of people keep telling me I'm going to hate Sansa. Everyone's just prepare yourself, you're gonna hate her. Not yet. I get that some people might find it heartless because when the boy fell down in front of her and her buddy was sobbing and freaking out, she was like, oh, well, that's sad, I guess. But I get it. In some ways, I feel like Sansa is the most sensible and reasonable Stark.
There are people who call her a sociopath because she doesn't cry right then. But she was raised by Catelyn Stark, who instilled in her that appearances are everything to the umpteenth degree. I would shame my parents. I would shame my family. I'm a Stark of Winterfell. But
well, I guess the counter argument to that would be it's not just appearance, though, because we do get the introspection of her saying, why does this not affect me? But why should it affect you? You live in this medieval setting. People die. I'm certain she's seen many accidents before. It might be her first joust, but it's not her first stage fight, right? Things happen.
I think that's another part of it for her is a stage show. She's in a song as far as she's concerned. So it doesn't feel real to her. I don't know that person. And this just was always part of what was always described to me. It'd be like sitting through a TV show and you're oh, more people died.
It's also a legitimate trauma response. A lot of times when you see something horrific, the brain will shut down in a sense where it protects you from that much emotion. It protects you from that surge of grief. So, you could argue this is sociopathic behavior, but at the same time, you could argue this is trauma behavior. She's shut down that part.
We know Katalin is emotionally abusive. If you've been living with a parent that's emotionally abusing a sibling, or even you, we don't know that much about Sansa and Catalin's relationship, but yeah, your emotions don't necessarily line up with what's happening.
Yeah, you're in constant self-preservation mode, and we do see that with Sansa. She has fear and emotion for her well-being, so she does have that sort of prey-like behavior.
Yeah, and then you get the Hounds backstory and why Gregor is a psychopath. Don't cross him. Don't mess with him. Don't go near him.
Yeah, that was horrific, and I'm gonna give props to Martin. He doesn't need them, but I'm gonna give them anyway. He did that scene really well, and it was like not even a flashback. It was describing something that happened in the past, and I'm almost envious of his ability to exposit in that way, even through dialogue, because you get really invested. You feel empathy for him. And that's another reason she's not a sociopath, because she feels empathy for him. She felt sad for him, such that she was able to turn on a dime and be like, oh, your brother's such a great knight, to your brother's not a very good knight.
I thought it was really cool the way he draws their relationship going forward from this moment.
I've always said that I like the Hound, again, because he's a jerk, but he's a likable jerk. Like, you feel like he has to be that way, not only because he's disfigured, but you know, he also grew up in an abusive situation, obviously. But
and he lives with Joffrey all the time. Joffrey in this chapter dealing with his mom and dad's scene and then just storming off. Like, it's one of the few times I sort of feel kind of sorry for Joffrey.
Well, I mean, that'll get into an argument later of who's to blame for Joffrey. I'll do us a service and move on to Eddard, because we haven't had enough of Eddard.
Very funny.
So Ned has to tell Robert that he's fat. Too fat for his armor. But he still wants to fight in the melee, though, so somebody has to tell the damned idiot that it wouldn't be fair. Of course, then the frickin' moron decides to whine to Ned about how being king is hard, and he wishes he could just step down, but he doesn't want his shit-stained son to be the king with Cersei, whispering in his ear. So instead of telling him he hasn't actually done much as king and the Lannisters basically have him by the balls too, Ned assures him the little shit will grow. Then they laugh and drink and go to the tourney, where he's so happy that Jaime Lannister is unhorsed by the Hound. But that's as far as I got, because look at this shit. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but look at those page numbers. I got a misprint. I did think it was weird that Jaime Lannister suddenly had rich brown hair tumbling down into his eyes. I had that moment of, wait, why are we in Sansa's head now? And yeah, so Allegra, what happened next?
Loras beats Gregor, the mountain, and Gregor beheads his own horse, because that's a thing you do.
Yeah, normal shit. It's Tuesday.
Right? Then Ned goes and makes sure his daughters are behaving. He actually has like a really nice father-daughter moment with Arya, basically.
Aww.
There's a really cool moment where he's talking with her and says, you're gonna marry a lord and your children are gonna be kings and queens and stuff like that. And Arya just looks at him and goes, you mean Sansa?
I did see that. That part I did read.
Varys comes to talk to Ned. When Varys shows up, he basically tells Ned that Robert almost jumped into a trap. That, of course, Cersei wanted Robert to be in the melee, and that there was totally an assassination planned.
Ah.
And so then Ned doesn't know if he believes Varys, and do any of us believe Varys, but it kind of makes sense. Like, why else would Cersei have deliberately provoked him in front of everyone unless she was putting on a show? So really, Robert's saved by the fact he's too fat for his own plate armor. It's also slightly possible that Cersei just provoked him to provoke him, but I don't feel like... I think Varys is actually being truthful.
I mean, I don't blame her. In this sense, good. Someone needs to kill him. Varys won't.
Yes.
Stannis.
There's the final line of... as a final question, Ned asked Varys what Jon Arryn had been doing that led to his murder. And Varys answers, asking questions.
Ooh, foreshadowing. And I bet Jon Arryn was better at, like, hiding the fact that he was asking questions.
The other cool thing about the scene is that you get another moment of Varys showing up in costume, no one recognizing him until he, like, pulls off the costume a bit. Because Varys is really good at not looking like Varys. To a point where fandom has like kind of a fun time of trying to decide who's Varys in the background of lots of scenes.
It's like It or It Follows. Like, you're always looking in the background, like, is that Pennywise? Is that the sex demon? Like,
is it? I love Varys. I really do like him. He is evil and chaotic neutral at best.
I need to see more. I kind of love where I make up my mind about Varys. I generally so far have a list of people I definitely like, don't like, and am so far ambivalent towards. So far I'm ambivalent towards Varys. Robert needs to go.
Yeah, it's one of those moments of like, did you just wait until Tommen was old enough to be the spare just in case?
Yeah.
To like make sure he survived.
But in a lot of ways, like if it was just about seizing power, I mean, and you've seen this in history where like the woman wanted power. They did it when the kid was purposely a kid so that they could be regent. And I know that's not necessarily how it would work in Westeros because patriarchy, but I mean, you could also argue like the Dragon Empress, patriarchy existed there. Cersei could have easily done that. She's smart enough.
You can definitely tell the seeds are still being sown through here of plotlines he's since moved on from. And they probably got left whenever during the drafting process, back when Jaime was supposed to be the one that sees power, which we all find out he doesn't. Or I think there's even a little bit of a shred of, Jon definitely missing his sister Arya more than anyone else, and Arya missing Jon, and like maybe still seeds of that, but it's become more like they're just siblings and they're missing each other.
Keeping Robert alive as long as she did is useful for her own self-preservation because she needed a father for her kids. I don't blame her. I mean, I am also pretty sure if he had married Lyanna, she would have also orchestrated his assassination.
I don't see Lyanna Stark, from what we know of her being Arya-ish, I don't think he would last very long.
Well, I also like that line that Ned does say, where it's like, I knew my sister, you loved her, but you didn't know her. And she would not approve of this behavior.
Oh, as long as we're talking about Lyanna, I should also point out that, so when he makes the slip up when he's talking to Arya and says, you'll marry a lord and your children will be kings and queens and all this stuff, and she's like, that's Sansa. You can almost wonder if he wasn't talking to Lyanna, like he's not just guilt-tripped himself up because maybe Lyanna's kids were supposed to be kings and queens. I mean, they would have if she married Robert. They also would have if she married Rhaegar. Like, Lyanna was meant to be a lady and become a queen, one way or another. And
well, I could see how she'd prefer one to the other.
Yeah. And now you have Arya, who's completely uninterested in both of these options.
I don't think he sees Lyanna so much in her in that respect. I think the specter of Lyanna is always with him personally, and that's why he's like, I've got to do better by my daughters. So I don't know that he sees Lyanna and Arya so much as Lyanna guides his actions.
Because he may have already screwed over Lyanna's kid, so...
Oh, hell yeah. I mean... just editing the last video and going back through the Jon chapter, just listening back to our conversation, there was so much of me going, man, you really, like, screwed him. Like, you screwed Jon. All because Katalin.
And even if you weren't going to make him join the Black, like, you already screwed the kid out of possibly being king. And now you've messed up his entire life and future with this taking the Black thing. Like, good job, Ed.
It's okay. He's gonna die.
I mean, we just finished Eddard 7, and I think he only gets 15 chapters to be POV. So. I mean, technically, we're like halfway there with him.
All right. Well, that said, what are we reading for next time?
Tyrion 4, Arya 3, Eddard 8, Katalin 6, Eddard 9, and Daenerys 4. You get a treat.
And it's right at the end, so it's like a palate cleanser. I love Daenerys. If you guys didn't see last episode, she's my boo. I love her. I want her to win the whole thing.
But also, at the end of it, we'll already be on Eddard 9, which means only 4 more Eddard chapters.
Oh my god. It's, you know, I'm going to concede this. You ready? Mm-hmm. I would take all the Eddard chapters in the world if it meant I didn't have to read one more Katalin.
Unfortunately, you can't make that deal. She's in 3 more books. I do, like I said, I think she gets more palatable. Like, she has a learning curve. I think she does get better. She never gets great, but she does do interesting things. So, you know, she gets more interesting. There's that. She goes interesting places and meets cool people.
So far, there are only 2 names that can pop up at the top of the chapters that make me inwardly groan, and it's that married couple. I see Sansa, and I'm fine. I can deal with that. I see Arya. You know, I don't like her, but I don't like kids, so I can deal with that. Bran, same thing. But I see Catelyn at the top, and I gotta take a break. Like, I gotta mentally prepare myself for the rage that will ensue.
I can't blame you.
I got halfway through this Catelyn chapter and had to walk away.
Yeah, I remember reading this like back when I was young and silly and like 20-ish, and she didn't seem as bad, but I didn't have quite the grasp of politics.
I was writing fan fiction at 20, and I went back, and the female characters annoy me that I wrote, because at 20 you think female characters should act a certain way, because you act a certain way. We're all dumb in 20, right? But now that we're in our 30s, you know, you read her and you're like, huh? What are you doing? But don't go look for my fan fiction.
I've already taken that vow. You don't open my fanfic, I don't open yours. We don't go there.
Actually, I would love to read your fanfic drunk.
Yeah, you need to be. You would so need to be.
No, you drunk in other things for mine. I mean, I would tell you this one, but that's too much of a clue.
Everyone go read her Sailor Moon fanfic. It'll be amazing.
No, actually, my most popular fanfic was not Sailor Moon. I don't think I've ever completed a Sailor Moon fanfic. But Sailor Moon's awesome, and I say that as a 30-something-year-old. It's still awesome. Sailor Moon Crystal, go watch it. But hey, we've come a long way since fan fiction. We've actually been published. You should go check out our book, Broken Wings. It's on Amazon. Search Allegra, and Emily, Sloan. Just saying, it's a really good contemporary chick fic romance novel. Not what you expect in a romance novel. So if you want a breath of fresh air, there it is. Anyway, so that's our promo. Not paid.
It's romantic suspense, guys.
There are explosions and mayhem and death. Check it out.
And you can find us on Twitter and Facebook and all the other things. And please subscribe to the channel if we didn't annoy you too terribly much.
Even if we did, do it anyway. Click on the bell at the bottom of the window to get notifications for when we have more content. And be safe, guys. Wash your hands. Read science, read a book, and hopefully you'll pick up a not misprint and join us for our next read along. Bye, guys.
Bye.